Hi, good morning, Professor. Today I'm going to be speaking about opting for ecological funerals and death care plans. Every day, hundreds of people die in the United States, and we tend not to think about this reality, but it does happen. There are also hundreds of ways to die, some that are good and some that we'd rather not happen to our family members. So my question is, why are there only a set number of ways to take care of a body after we die? Currently in the United States, there are two widely accepted care treatments for a deceased body. The first one is embalmed burial with a casket, and the second is cremation with a casket. Embalming started when the death industry industrialized during the First World War. It was used to keep soldiers beautiful as they were shipped back to their family members. The second is cremation. Cremation began to get popularity in the 1960s when Pope Paul VI declared that a Catholic could be cremated. This was strengthened in 2016 when Pope Francis announced that a Catholic could be cremated as long as his or her ashes were placed in a crypt or a holy place and could not be separated, scattered, or kept at home. As a growing population of the United States becomes more eco-conscious, the death industry has been put on the spot for not promoting or even mentioning green death care plans, such as natural burial, direct cremation, burial without embalming or a vault, and alkaline hydrolysis. The most popular death care plan in the United States is embalmed burial. And embalmed burial has been number one since its inception. The concept of keeping a deceased forever beautiful in death has warped the way that we view death. The process of embalming also requires years of training and more protective equipment for the embalmer than a surgeon going into life-saving surgery. The chemicals used in embalming a body are ridiculous carcinogens. Formaldehyde is in the Environmental Protection Agency's top 10% of the most hazardous and dangerous chemicals. You might wonder what the environmental damage of formaldehyde is. So once formaldehyde bursts out of the casket, which it always will, it is absorbed into the ground. Then the roots of certain plants will absorb it and die and cause it to run off into nearby water systems. Then the water cycle will make it rise into the atmosphere and wait for rainstorms to start it all over again. You might wonder, what are your greener options in death care plans? Many believe that cremation of a casket with a body inside is much safer than an embalmed burial. The truth is that it's only the lesser of two evils. Embalmed cremations don't really happen, but cremations of a casket, like a steel or wood casket, can emit these harmful chemicals: carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, hydrochloric acid, sulfur dioxide, dioxin, and carcinogens such as polychlorinated diobenzene dioxides and polychlorinated diobenzene surfanes. Also, not to mention any mercury emissions that might happen if the deceased had any old dental fillings. So what can you do to have a greener death? An alteration to traditional cremation to make it greener is to have a direct cremation. This means that the body is placed into a simple pine casket or a cardboard box and cremated that way. This actually cuts down on the carbon footprint by half and reduces the time of the actual cremation. A newer system is called alkaline hydrolysis. This is a much better industrial option for death care plans. It is a process where the body is placed into a pressurized chamber in a solution of 95% water and 5% potassium hydroxide. This is heated to 365 degrees Fahrenheit and left for 2 to 3 hours. What happens with this solution is that it dissolves all the organic tissue, fat, and most of the bone fragments from the body and leaves ashes. This is basically a water cremation that uses 1/8 of the energy, 1/4 of the carbon footprint, and has 0% of the mercury emissions in a traditional flame cremation. The best option for an environmental burial is green burial or natural burial. This means that after the person dies, they are washed and wrapped into a natural cloth such as unbleached cotton or bamboo sheets and placed into a 4-foot hole and let to decompose naturally. So what are the environmental effects of each of these different death care plans? Embalming, as I said before, is a process of draining the blood and fluids and replacing them with a chemical concoction. These chemicals always find their way to pollute water systems near the cemeteries, and once they evaporate, they stick to the atmosphere until they can dissolve, and that could take years. Also, the process of embalmed burials do this to the environment. It cuts down 4 million acres of forest to make caskets. It makes 115 tons of steel used for caskets and burials to be used. 2 billion tons of concrete are also used in burial vaults and liners. And finally, 800,000 gallons of formaldehyde are put into the ground every single year in service of embalmed burials in the United States. Flame cremations have also had new innovations to make them a bit more environmentally friendly. They are placing smoke filters into their smoke chambers to trap pollutants and toxins. Also, some new improvements is that crematoriums are reusing their energy waste to heat and cool public homes and buildings and light their own cemeteries. With alkaline hydrolysis, since it's the least ecologically taxing form of body care, and also it's the newest, there are not that many innovations, but there is just one. That is to reuse the water used to dissolve the body. You might think that this is a bit icky or not safe, but the truth is that the water, since it is heated to 365 degrees Fahrenheit, is sterile and has many nutrients due to the body, so it can be used to water farms or cemeteries rather than just flushed into the sewer system. Finally, natural burial is amazing for the environment. Your body is used as a natural fertilizer for the land around your burial plot, and all the microorganisms that feed on your body then feed other organisms and starts the circle of life all over again in the most natural and biological way possible. In conclusion, the United States started as all mankind did, by burying their dead in the most natural state possible. But as industrialization made our lives easier, it seems to have deferred us from our roots in death care. The millennial generation and generations after that have been said to be the most death-positive generations, and with that comes an interest in helping our environment in any way possible. If we could go from our mindset in the 60s that flame cremation was heresy to it now being the #1 death care plan, what is to stop us from changing the death industry to be a more eco-friendly sector of our lives and economy? I urge you to take a look at your death plan and think what you want to do with your body and how will that benefit or harm our environment. Thank you.